I was on a flight the other day headed from Atlanta back to Las Vegas, and I was sitting next to an older gentleman with a U.S. Navy hat on. And we started having our conversation. Oh, where are you from? What brought you to Atlanta? What are you headed to Vegas for? Oh, you live there. Great. Amazing. And we just started having this conversation. And then he asked me, so what do you do? And I said, oh, I have a dance company. He said, oh, what kind of dance? I said, I help dancers train for NFL and NBA dance teams. How did you get into that? He said, oh, I danced for the Golden State Warriors for 7 seasons, and I was the assistant coach for 3 years. I danced for the Suns for a year. And he's, wow, you do really amazing work. He was like, we need a round of champagne around here. Cheers to you. And we started talking about the hard work that takes to make it in the dance world, especially at that elite level. And then he went on to tell me about his 2 sons. One of them was in college for basketball, and the other one just got accepted into the U.S. Navy through tennis. And this conversation evolved into what his son did growing up to get to the place where he was scouted by all of these different college teams, and the rubric that was actually followed by all tennis players, and they knew where their ranking was and where they stood. Now, this gentleman's son was ranked 112 out of 6,500 people in his age bracket, which is truly incredible. And he was telling me about how all of the players in this database are ranked on the same criteria to show, okay, here's where you stand amongst all of the other players in your category. They have eligibility requirements, and to be eligible in a class ranking, you had to compete in at least 3 rounds in the U.S. tournaments in the last 12 months. You also had to win at least 3 matches over other ranked players, 2 of which must be over players who are participation eligible. Okay, so that is just the eligibility requirements for you to be an eligible player in the tennis rankings, right? And then the rankings are organized, right? This is all off of this tennis recruiting website, which I'm going to get to in a minute, and I promise you this has a point. Okay, so the class rankings were broken down by high school graduation year rather than the age or their ability level. So then when a coach would go to the website, they'd say, okay, who is the graduating class of 2027? How can I start seeing who these players are and start watching them? And so everything is on this tennisrecruiting.net. And if you are a tennis player, you have your stats automatically pulled into this database that you can reference and potential coaches can reference, or like your future college team, right? And so the crazy thing is that the algorithm uses a head-to-head system versus the point system. And so the quality of your opponent matters. So if you beat someone who is lower ranking than you, that didn't really weigh as heavily if you were the underdog and say you beat them. Okay, so all of this is getting pulled into this database, and it's like having a GPS system, right? So you are here and you know where you want to go. You input the little directions and the destination that you're wanting to go, and you follow along in the GPS system, and you know that when you put point A and point B in your GPS system, it is going to get you there, right? You have that North Star that is guiding you of what you need to do, right? It's just like also when you're in the kitchen, you add eggs, you add flour, you add oil, you add sugar, you add cocoa powder, you mix it all up, you put it in the oven at 350 for 45 minutes, and out come brownies. That is following a recipe and getting exactly what you want on the other side of that work. Okay, so back to this conversation with this gentleman. So when you think about this database and this rubric and this GPS system that these tennis players are having, I was thinking, man, this feels nothing like dance. And if my brain wasn't spinning enough already, the fact that these tennis players had access to this website that showed their ranking, that showed their scores, that then the coaches could log in and see their exact ranking. And here's the crazier thing. You could actually see which coach from what team or what college was looking at your stats and how many times they viewed your profile. And so it was such a remarkable way to see who's interested in you and be able to have more information on where you could potentially be going in the future. And I thought that was just such a cool opportunity for these tennis players. And man, wouldn't it be nice if dancers had this, right? And so I'm having this conversation with this dad. And the next thing he says to me is, I'd imagine that dance is really subjective. And I'm like, yes, you have no clue. And so the question is, how do dancers know where they stand? And you don't. And I thought that was such a good question. And honestly, it's the exact reason why we have our training programs, so you can know exactly what you need to work on, when you need to work on. And there's subjective parts of dance, and then there are a few objective parts of dance. But a lot of it is subjective. It's based on the team, based on the league, based off of personal preferences, the judges. However, there are overarching subjects, themes, consistencies, things that teams are looking for across the board. And that's a lot of the fundamentals that we teach. And a lot of it is very subjective to the judges that are in the room that day, right? Subjective things are things that people can either agree or disagree on based off of their tastes, their preferences, and their experiences. You can go watch a movie with someone and you can both agree that the movie was great, or you could disagree that the movie was great because one person thought it was amazing and the other one didn't. Art is another thing that is subjective. Morals, whether you like it or not, can be something that is subjective. And then you add the layer of the scorecard being completely different dependent on the league, the organization, and even the team. And it can be different whether it's semifinals, prelims, finals, boot camp, right? And so how are you supposed to know what you are being judged on? That is the question. And so I wanted to break down some of the things that I think are objective and subjective in the pro dance space based off of my judging in both the NFL and NBA leagues. So you have, first thing is your technique and your skill level. So when it comes to technique, consistently across the board, the bare minimum are your three fundamental pieces of technique. So you have your turns, your leaps, and your kicks. And for the most part, those three elements are consistently objective. Can you kick? Is it clean? What does it look like? Is your knee straight or is it bent? Are you hunching over? Are you straight? Technique has somewhat of a fundamental baseline. Are there elements that could make it subjective in the view of, oh, that's really a beautiful kick? Yes. And for the pro space, technique, in my opinion, is one of the more objective elements that you can say, yes, this person has it, no, this person doesn't. And across the board, most judges will agree. I'm even thinking like this weekend we had our mock auditions, and looking back at the judges' feedback, I'm like, oh, that's interesting that you thought that. And it's still on technique. Every single person also has different technique background, different studio background, different experience background. And so they might look at something because they don't have the same skill set, better or for worse, and say, oh, that's really good. And another judge could say they could work on it a little bit more. However, you do still have that common baseline of, can you get around twice and spot and do it with confidence? That is where I'm saying it is more of a objective element of your scorecard. Okay. So the next element is your skill set. And while you, being a good dancer, is somewhat subjective, the objective part of it is, does this person know how to pick up choreography? Does this person know how to string together movements and execute it? That is the baseline of the skill of dancing, right? Are you an amazing dancer? Are you a great dancer? Are you a performer? All of those things are a little bit more subjective. Whereas this is, when I see the movements done by the choreographer, are you making those same shapes and placements as the choreographer, and can you actually do them? That is your skill, okay? Do you know the name of like port de bras and tendu and dégagé and all that. That's not necessary. That is a skill, but it's not being brought forward in the pro dance space, right? And so this fundamental skill of, do you know how to watch a choreographer and then put the movement through your body? That is that baseline of the objective skill set that you can know whether it's yes or no, black and white, right? So now we come into the next element, which is your entertainment and personality. And this is where we skew so subjectively. So entertainment factor and personality, it's so hard because there are some things that you're like, oh yeah, it's a no-brainer. It feels like it could be an objective decision, but it truly is in the eye of the beholder. You are being judged based off of the person's experience, what they want to feel when they're watching you and being entertained. I personally, I've said this multiple times, and I know that this is unrealistic. I want perfection straight out the gate. I want performance. I want technique. I want clean lines. I want you going full out straight out the gate. Is that realistic? No. And that is the exact reason why there's other judges. Because if I'm the only one, it's not a judging panel. It's not an audition. It's just me deciding yes or no, right? And it would probably be no for everyone. I'm not that mean. But I was even thinking back to, like, how long have I been this way? And I've been this way for a while. So in high school, we made up a routine for our high school dance team. So I was on a competition dance team at my studio. I was on POM at the school, and then I was in the dance program in school. And if you were a choreographer for the routine, you judged the routine of your fellow dancers and you placed them in the formation based off of their score. My rule, if you were auditioning for a routine that I made up, I had a choreographer that her and I made up most of the routines together our junior and senior year. And the rule was, if you did not get 50% or above, you were not in the routine. And the reason why is because you technically failed that routine. And there were technical elements and then there were movement elements, right? And the score was based off of us, the choreographers, enjoying watching you knowing the routine, you being able to perform the routine. And that's really, I feel like, where a lot of my judging standards came from, because unfortunately I've just always been this way, right? So each judge is looking for something different. One might want to be able to feel something when watching you, and they don't care necessarily as much on the technique portion if you are a bomb entertainer, right? Because at the end of the day, the audience doesn't know if you're an amazing technician. They know whether or not they're being entertained. And so that piece has a weight to it, has expectation to it. And so some judges just want to feel something. Some judges are like me and they're more technical and they want to see the technique piece and entertainment factor. It really just depends on that judge's personal experience and their expectation for you as a dancer. So you have entertainment and then you also have personality, and those go hand in hand. And again, this is more subjective. Each judge is going to be different in what they're looking for with your personality. However, most of the judging panel has been in your shoes. They are dancers. They know what it feels like to be on that side and be the one performing in front of judges. And so there is this give and take of understanding you are in an incredibly difficult position right now, learning on the spot, performing on the spot, and having memory retention and all these things. And at the same time, being as prepared as possible to be the professional. Do you hear me? Professional. Okay? Steph Curry doesn't go in and say, hey, this is my first time. I want to learn how to dribble. No, he's a professional. He's shooting from freaking the tunnel these days to warm up. A professional means that you are getting paid for your skill set, and your skill set needs to be at the most elite level. And so I want you to be realistic with yourself of like, how much preparation are you doing? How much are you showing up for yourself to be that professional? So then when you walk in the door, you are the best candidate in the room for them to say yes to. Okay. And I know I'm talking about entertainment and personality, but you want it to be as many yeses from the judges as possible. You don't want it to be up for debate. You want every single person to be like, that person, I don't know exactly what it was, but I said yes. And yeah, there's the rubric, there's the scorecard, but you can evoke this feeling, this magnetism to the judges through your technique, through your performance, through your entertainment, through your personality that just makes them feel something and say, absolutely, yes, this person needs to go to the next round. Okay. And the personality that you're portraying and that you're exuding can differ by the team. Some teams are more polished. Some teams are more grimy. Some teams are straight arm jazz and that's it. And you have to know exactly what you're getting into, because if you're going into a more conservative team and you're sticking out your tongue because that's what you did on a college dance team, they're not going to necessarily like that personality, that entertainment, because that's not the vibe of the team and the representation of the organization that needs to be exuded through the performance. And so doing your research and knowing, okay, how does this team perform? What styles does this team do will ultimately help you in this entertainment factor, because while it is subjective, there are some inferences that you can make based off of what you were seeing the previous squad do. Okay, and then the last one is the everything but your dance skills. Okay, everything but dance, that you are being scored on, and it's probably the biggest score out of everything that can make it or break it for you, for the judges and the coaching staff. And again, this one, what do you know? It's pretty subjective based off of the team and their rules and their expectations of their team members. Everything outside of dance, your interview skills, your social media, how you are a brand ambassador, how you conduct yourself, how you interact with other dancers. Are you coachable? Being coachable means that you listen and you implement what was being given to you, right? But there are also these varying levels of being coachable dependent on the coach and their expectations of their team. And the hardest part is that you don't know. You don't know. And so that's exactly why I'm telling you these things today, so you can start thinking, okay, and I don't want to make it complicated of, oh my gosh, these things are all so subjective. How am I supposed to know what I'm being judged on? You can't. You literally can't. However, you can learn and improve and grow every single time you show up for yourself, whether it's in class, whether it's training with us, whether it's taking prep classes. The coaches want to see you improve every single time. Not, oh, I've told you the same thing for the last 3 years and now you just came back again and you're doing the same thing. That is not improving. That is not being coachable. That is just showing up and hoping for the best, thinking that things are going to change when you keep doing the same thing over and over again. And you know when you do the same thing over and over again what that means, right? And it's the definition of insanity if you think that something's going to change. Okay? All right. So when it comes to your everything but the dance skills, some teams are more lax, some teams are more rigid. I came from a stricter team, so I tend to be more rigid. And the thing is that if you can have these confines of being more rigid, if you go to a team that is more lax, you're like, ooh, I can breathe. I can have my tattoo showing. I can have my nose pierced, whatever it is. It allows you to have that flexibility versus if you are so loose and more free with how you show up and you audition for a more conservative and strict team, it's harder to put those confines in a quick timing versus being able to let off the guardrails, right? It's like bowling. You bowl with those kiddie lanes on until you take them off, and then you have the pathway that your arm's supposed to go. You know the execution. That allows you the freedom after you've had those guardrails up, yeah? So you might be telling yourself, okay, how am I supposed to prepare when so many of these elements are so subjective? The great news is that technique is objective. Your skill set, your ability to learn, retain choreography, implement it on your body, that is objective. Those two elements, those are in your control. The other elements, you can start to prepare as much as possible to be the best candidate, the more maybe strict candidate. So then you can show up as best as you possibly can and let down those guardrails if you need to when you see what the team is like, what their expectations are, and what their rules are. And these subjective elements take a little bit more time. And that is actually the reason why we host a monthly masterclass. And so if you want to join our next masterclass, would love to invite you. It's a free 60 to 90 minutes depending on the session, and you can click the link below in the show notes to join, or you can go to Instagram at the Cultivate Code and message me masterclass and I will send you the link to sign up. I hope this was helpful for you. Comment below any aha moments or questions that you have about what you are potentially being scored on, and I would love to answer that in the next video. Talk to you soon.